Hello and welcome to the Bay Area Content Marketing Meetup. I am Dennis Shao, the co-organizer of this group. Today we're talking content marketing and GPTs with Brianna Blacet, a content marketer at Moveworks. Brianna built the Moveworks Content Accelerator, MCA, a custom GPT that helps her team scale content without losing the voice or audience orientation that defines us. MCA captures the nuance, tone, personas, and storytelling that connect with customers while keeping content compliant, accurate, and unmistakably on brand. Brown is going to show us how you can train a GPT to think like your brand and write with your voice. And she'll share her experience turning a large language model into a creative partner that balances greater output while strengthening the human story behind our marketing. Brianna, thanks for joining and take it away.
Yeah, and if we had more time, I'd show you my GPT that is a pet psychic. It's not really a pet psychic, but you can use it that way.
We'll do a separate Zoom for that.
I
But that sounds
don't know
neat.
why you would want me to do that today. Okay, can you see my slides?
Yes.
Okay, sounds good. All right, ready to get started?
Yep.
Let's do it. So, as Dennis mentioned, my name is Brianna, and I have spent the last 15 years in content marketing, working for companies ranging from tiny startups to bigger brands like Cisco, VMware, Splunk, and now Moveworks, which has been recently acquired by ServiceNow. So, and along the way, what I've learned is over 15 years that things change all the time. And with every major shift in technology, it not only changes what we write about and what we market, but also how we work. And AI is no different. But instead of talking about AI in the abstract in this presentation, today I want to show you some practical stuff because I know you guys can use AI, and my goal is not to help you learn to use AI. My goal really is to help you feel like you're driving the bus during a time when we all feel like we possibly could get run over, right? Like this is, as content marketers, it's a little bit nerve-wracking. So does everyone know how to use the reaction buttons on Zoom? So we're going to use the reaction buttons to make this a little more interactive, and I will take questions later. But let's start with a quick show of hands. How many of you have used AI to create content? Yeah, okay. Keep your hand up if you've ever looked at your output and thought to yourself, well, those are definitely words. Yes. Thanks for your honesty. Recovery starts with admitting that you have a problem. But all jokes aside, a lot of us are carrying around a lot of anxiety, and I have been among them, which is why about a year and a half ago, I started to really learn how to use AI to scale content marketing because it makes me feel like I'm driving the bus instead of feeling like I'm sitting around waiting to be run over. So, what I'm hoping is that by the end of this session, you will know how to build your own AI powered content studio. And that would be, as Dennis said, a system that captures you, your voice, your vibe, your brand style, but lets you scale it without turning out AI slop that nobody wants to read. So this will help you stay hopefully in the driver's seat as AI reshapes the ways that we work. And remember, change isn't always bad. It's only bad if we let it be bad. So I'm an optimist, and that's my perspective. Anyway, the problem we're all having right now, and I'm not even sure it's all about AI, but it's just a moment that we're in. And especially if you're in tech, which I am, budgets are getting smaller for content. They're getting leaner teams. Like we have very small teams now. There's fewer people creating content. And yet the expectations, they just keep increasing. So they want us to do more content for more channels, higher velocity than ever before. And that can be intimidating. And to be perfectly honest, I don't think that's going to change. I don't think those pressures are going to go away. But that doesn't mean that we are victims of this moment. And it also doesn't mean that we all have to start working 80 hours a week, because I don't really think that's the answer. And the other thing that I don't think is an acceptable answer is sacrificing the quality of what we do. Like it's really important to me, and I'm sure it's important to all of you too. When I started experimenting with AI, I was in a place where I was thinking, what is this gonna replace? And is it gonna be me? And I'd be lying if I say I didn't wake up in the mornings and wonder that. And I think a lot of people, not just content marketers, are in place. But over this time period of about a year and a half, when I became really obsessed, I started to see that it wasn't that at all. The most valuable parts of my job were never proofreading. They were never style compliance checks or pouring through it to make sure that all my messaging was up to date and compliant with our messaging frameworks. The most valuable parts of my job, the most value that I can contribute to my job, is storytelling, authenticity, having an authentic voice, connecting with my audience, because I really do believe that human connection is at the core of all communications, including content marketing. And I know that people can feel when something is generic or created by a machine or inauthentic. Making people care is the actual business that we're in. So I started thinking differently about all of this. I started thinking, well, what if we sort of outsource the crappy parts of our job, the mechanical work, all that proofreading, style guide, compliance, outsource that to AI so that we have more time to focus on human work. So I think of myself as having like a personal creativity bucket. And I think part of that depends on the workday, right? When a lot of our days are just overwhelmed by miscellany. So there's only so much time and so much attention that we have to spend creatively. And I want to spend mine on storytelling, voice, like we discussed, empathy, because I like to think a lot about the problems of the people I'm marketing to, connection, all the things that make content worth reading and consuming. And I think that the reason a lot of people are afraid that they're going to be replaced is because they think about AI as a writing tool. And I think a lot of managers do too. I don't think it's just the content people, but I've come to see it as a workflow tool. So that's why I built Content Studio, with exactly that, to automate all the repetitive, crappy tasks and save my brain power and my creativity for the stuff that actually matters. So when you look at it like that, that's even more than glass half full, right? It's like hiring a full-time assistant to do your prep work. So now, before I show you Content Studio, I want to address something that I hear all the time, because I told you I'm super passionate about AI. So I run around telling people, like my 85-year-old mom, you can use ChatGPT to do this, to do that. And the biggest pushback I get from people is, I'm not technical. Well, neither am I. I'm a writer. I write about technology, but I'm not an engineer. So the good news is we don't have to be technical to do this, because you can actually use the AI to teach you how to use the AI. And that's my big secret that I learned last year. Like, people are worried about becoming great prompt engineers. You don't have to be a great prompt engineer. See there. And my VP of audience experience is voicing opinions in the next room very loudly. Can you hear him barking? Okay. So basically, these are the things that I ask my AI all the time. Like, help me write instructions for you. Or what files should I upload into my GPT? And I'll show you where files go in a minute. What are the prompts I should use to get the outcomes that I want? You know, how the hell do I build this thing? The skill isn't at all technical expertise. That's not it. The skill is in knowing and articulating the outcome you want. And I believe James said that in the beginning. He said it's all about being able to describe in painstaking detail what you want. That is the skill. So here you go. Introducing Content Studio. This is a GPT that I built that does everything I hate. So proofreading, making sure it's perfect, repurposing content. I don't know how many of you have had a request like, here, take this ebook, create 4 blog outlines from it, and a whole bunch of social posts. Well, I can do that with Content Studio, and I'm not worried about it degrading the quality because I've programmed quality into it. And I don't have to worry that it's not going to write in my style because I built this to be my style. So essentially, it's like a content marketing operating system. It's not a writer and it's not an editor at all. So here's how you do it. So you start by going to ChatGPT, and Dennis said this in the beginning, but if you didn't hear it, I know that not everyone has ChatGPT. And when I'm done with the slides, I'm going to take questions. And if we have time, then I will teach you how to do it in Claude as well. And or we can do another session on that. But if you go to ChatGPT, you can see down the left-hand column all the options. And there's that little place where it says GPTs. And you can just click on Explore GPTs. And this screen comes up and it shows you things that have been published. But in the top right-hand corner, you'll see there's a little black button with a plus sign that says Create. That's where we start. And you're going to make all of the rules. You're going to tell this thing exactly what to do, how to think, how to write. This is you. This is your personal kingdom or queendom. You are a protector of the realm, first of his or her name. Like, this is your jam. So one of my favorite things about this is that it did give me permission to be relentless about the things I care about. I come from newspapers and I work for the New York Times Newswire. And if you want some pressure to be editorially perfect, you know, I used to go to bed having nightmares about like missing Oxford commas, crazy things like that. I make sure that Content Studio keeps that relentless focus and I don't have to have nightmares about it anymore. So I put my style guides in there, my grammar guidelines, and I'm really intense about it because I want short declarative sentences. I want active voice. I put my messaging in here and make sure it doesn't drift. I tell it the voice I want, depending on what the output's going to be. I might want it to be kind of snarky or cute or formal, whatever that is. I can put that in here. My audience is in here. I can put personas, even rules about storytelling and how you like to tell stories. It's all up to you. So the next step, once you've created your GPT, you open it and you get this screen here. Now you'll see that you can name your GPT, give it a short description, and then there's this instructions box. And that's where you're going to teach it everything you want it to know that goes across everything else. So like, no matter what happens, it can be looking at style guidelines, but the instructions still go horizontally across that. So the other thing I do, you're all going to think I'm jerks, and I'm a jerk, and I kind of am, because there are a lot of things that I just refuse to allow in my content, like lists of things that it is never allowed to say. Like, don't we all have phrases that kind of make you throw up in your mouth a little bit? And I do think that voice is often defined by what you refuse to say. So for me, here are some of my words. These words are serving life sentences. But there is a repeat offender, and I'm just coming out with it. Seen this one? Raise your hand if your company has published this phrase in the last year. Oh, no one's owning up to it. No one? Okay. This is a safe space. I don't want you to feel judged. It's okay. Although I am judging a little bit. But like we said in the beginning, recovery starts with admitting you have a problem. You don't have to admit it to me. Don't use this ever again. The AI will try to say this. It will always try to say this. It's like a raccoon trying to get back into your garbage can again and again. And I don't know why the LLMs are so emotionally attached to chaos to clarity, but never again. It's over. It's over between us. So step 3 is you upload files. And you can see here in my screenshot, I've uploaded my style guide. I have a personality and behavior summary, because that's also the way it interacts with me. And I don't want my GPT to talk to me like an MBA. I'd rather it talk to me like a friend. So I put that in there because I spend a lot of time with this GPT. So I want to feel, happy and good about it. I put my messaging framework in here. You can put anything in here you want. Your editorial do's and don'ts, your banned list word. You can also put that in the instructions. Whatever it is that you need to preserve in that context, that through line that goes through everything else that you do. So after you're done putting all your files in there, you just click that little update button. And you can always go back and edit it anytime. There's this little edit GPT button in the sidebar. And by the way, on one of those earlier screens, you probably saw conversation starters. That's what ends up being in these check this document for style compliance. Those are the things that appear. And you could just put your most frequent functions in there for convenience. So once you've automated all this stuff, you're in a great situation because AI will always default to average, right? That's how you get that chaos to clarity happening. But great storytelling never defaults to average. Great brands are distinctive, right? They sound distinctive. They have a distinctive voice. It's that the ultimate driving machine, or it's that just do it. These are all the vibes, right? This storytelling vibe. Great writers sound distinctive, and great storytellers sound distinctive, because while AI can predict, great writers will always surprise. So AI is going to predict what you want next, and it's going to get ready for it because it's working across a number of averages, giant databases. But great writers don't do that. That's what we want to preserve. So it's not punctuation, it's not formatting, it's not compliance. It's voice, it's humanity, it's connection, and it's surprise. And this is my constant surprise. And you may hear him in the background squeaking his pink alligator. He has very, very big opinions. The bottom line is that we're going to just teach the AI what we value. So if you can do that, if you can teach it what you value, you can scale that. You can preserve your standards and your voice and your authenticity and your understanding of your audience's problem statement. All of those things, that make your work unique. Like maybe it's even your writing and the tiny little touches that you put on it. That's just, it's your signature. It's unique. Because at the end of the day, the future does not belong to AI. It belongs to storytellers and strategists and audience advocates. And I feel really confident in saying that, because in a world of generic AI content, what stands out is individuality, its character, its distinction. And that doesn't mean AI will fail at being a writer. That's because AI succeeds. We get to spend more time doing the work that only we can do. That's the success metric that I'm proposing to you. In other words, let's just automate that. And then we can be the people who understand people. We just do our human work. Because the future is not something that victimizes us, or it doesn't have to. We don't have to be a victim of the future, and especially not of AI. At the beginning of this presentation, we talked about that kind of pressure that a lot of us are facing, that fear of the future, even the immediate future. But I posit this. I don't think that content marketing success is ever going to come just to those who produce the most content. I don't. That's something that now is table stakes. I believe that this success that we can achieve will only come to those people who preserve what makes content worth reading in the first place. Because AI can generate content all day. Once again, it can't care, it can't connect, it can't understand humans. That's our job. And that's always going to be our advantage. We're not here to compete with AI. We're here to teach it what matters, to preserve voice, to preserve creativity, to preserve that connection, and to use all of these tools to tell better stories than you could tell alone. So nothing scary about that. So as we end today, I'm going to take questions in a minute. I just want to give you an invitation, which is that if you take me up on this and build your own content studio, I want to hear about it. Send me an email. Let me know what problems you're having. Tell me your triumphs. I'm there waiting to hear and geek out on your stuff too. So let's do that. Okay. So I'm going to take questions now. And then if we do have time after discussion, I'll show you how to build the same thing in Claude.
We have a question from Cindy. Go for it, Cindy.
Hey, this may be a dumb question, but I'm going to build my content studio. How does that get implemented in my day-to-day, chats within, does it automatically get applied? I don't really know.
Yes. So you go to, and yeah, exactly. When you go to, I should show you mine, but I have so much weird stuff in there. When you open up your GPT, so when you create your GPT, it's going to stay in that sidebar. You double click on it, it will open up. You saw that interface it gives you. Everything you do from there on uses your set of instructions, and it uses all of those files. That's the context, that's the rule.
I see. So I have to do my queries and things in the content creation. I see. Okay.
In the GPT itself, yeah. Which I have named my content studio, but you could name it Cindy Studio, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. I have to play with it.
Yes, and I want you to. Please play and enjoy. James, did you have a question? I see you raising your hand.
Yes. So I'm just curious about. Well, first of all, as Dennis and I were talking back and forth there about because in the Christian world, the specialty publications I'm doing, transformation sort of the goal when you're on this journey to God. But I can see how it would be overused with digital. I was just curious if you had sort of a resource or something that you're like, okay, wow, these are such repeatable phrases that I diminish my brand if I get associated with them. So I didn't know if you had like a cheat sheet or something that you had been putting together, because I'm thinking we could do this all, as a brainstorming thing. But I'm thinking like, I did not realize that word had negative connotations depending on where you use the word transformation. And I'm thinking, what other words don't I? In other words, we have long tail keywords. But what ones are the ones saying, oh, AI is going to want to avoid you because you're using that term too much? So that was.
I definitely wasn't talking about search engine optimization at all. I'm talking about your personal list of words that are cliche in your world.
Right.
So for me, like if I really have a thing about things like operationalizing and decisioning, like it's deciding, it's putting
utilizing instead of use.
all of those things, right? So this is like your list of pet peeves, but I do have a list of words with negative connotations, cliches, things that are overused, and it's called Google. Just go ahead in Gemini and say, what are the most cliche words in my industry? And it will give you a great list that you can copy and paste right into your GPT and be like, never use this again, never say it.
It's funny. Chat 5.2 ChatGPT 5.2, I've noticed that when I'm creating images in it now, a year ago they looked like, you could so tell it was AI that did it. But by giving very, very specific what parameters of what you want this image to do, because they didn't have cameras back when Jesus was walking the earth. But the images now can be so. My normal prompts are between 100 and 150 words, and I have such detail now that it really does give me what I want. And I have used a thing. Okay, chat, what will you construct a prompt that I can use that will give me what I want? Because without that explanation, it wasn't able to do it. With that query, it gives you what I want. It's freaky weird. But so anyways, that was my
Yeah, I would say it's freaking cool too. It's freaking weird, but it's freaking cool. And just use it for everything. Like it has all the answers to your questions about how to use AI. It has all your questions about how to not overuse language. Like that's a great source of AI, is that intelligence. So I see Margie has raised her hand. Would you like to come off mute and share your thoughts?
Yeah. Hi. Well, just on the AI red flags, there's a few lists floating around right now that I'm sure if you Google it, you'll ask AI itself, of like red flag words that indicate AI or like turns of phrase. It's not this, it's that.
Mhm.
They've been sort of making the rounds over the last couple
Right,
of weeks as people are
right,
getting more frustrated with AI slop. So
right.
I would check it out. I'm
Yeah.
sure that's going to change and evolve as well. Um, so my question was about sort of backing up a little bit into your process of creating those documents that you attached within the GPT. So the style guide one, and I'm not talking about more maybe the voice guide. Style guide is maybe a little bit more like capitalization and punctuation and grammar and things like that. But when we're really talking about voice, um, how do you develop what that guidance is, especially if you're developing different voices, say for if you have multiple clients and each one has a slightly different voice. So that you maybe reverse engineer some of the materials that they have already put together or that a particular blogger or someone has already written to tell you how do you go about doing that? And then I guess part of my question is once you have that, it would be interesting to get a peek or look at like what is that guide? What are you actually telling it in that guide to use as guidance?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of possibilities there, right? And if I were you and if I had multiple clients, well, first of all, some clients will have like a style and messaging and voice guide, right? Like if you work for big corporate clients, they may have that. If they don't, and you want to make sure you're nailing their voice, you can always take a few pieces and upload it into ChatGPT and say, what do you see? Derive the style, describe this style. Can you pull out any patterns that you see? And you could save a separate file for each of your clients. And then as you use your GPT, you can just say, use the style guide for X client, Y client. But that's what I do. The other way you can do this, let's say it's your own thing, like um, maybe for your website or something like that. You can just you can go, this is what I like to do. I like brand archetypes. Have you ever checked out brand archetypes? So I kind of love that too. And you can put that in your GPT. Like I like to use the magician archetype for a lot of the tech content that we do because it's all about transformation, but we're not using that word, James. We're not saying transformation, but it's about transformation. So we use that magician archetype, things like that. You could use the caregiver archetype if you're in healthcare. And if you give that to the GPT, it knows what that vibe is like. It knows what that voice is like. So, I mean, there's infinite numbers of ways to do that. And then just copy and paste everything into a doc and just upload it into the project knowledge files like we did with the style guide and everything else. That's how I would handle it. I mean, what do you think about
That's what
that,
I'm
Mark?
wondering. I'm wondering how many examples should you give it and what different types of examples and to help to create a meaningful output.
Yeah. I don't think you need more than like 3 if they're meaty. I don't. And also, you can give it a website URL and say, go check this out and make the observations about the style, the brand voice that it uses. There's a lot of ways to do it. Does that seem like a good start for you?
Yeah. And then where do you house those? Do you typically upload the documents into the GPT or in Claude, for example, or do you house them someplace else and then reference them?
They're all they're all in the GPT. So they all become this giant context so that everything you do in that GPT, that little environment, it's all governed by these sets of rules that you're either uploading in files and or you're putting in the instructions. So it's like I said, it's your personal queendom, and there's a code of conduct once you're in the queendom, and this is how you will act, this is how you will write, because I make the rules, baby.
And have you found that it doesn't really matter where you put them? You could put them in either the instructions or as a
Well, you know what? That's a great question for ChatGPT. And it's things like, so at work and Moveworks, I have things, I think about it like horizontal and vertical stuff. So when I have instructions that go across everything, like say it's form factors, okay? Because I also build in at work, I build in things like I have a blog operating system, which is just a document that says, here's what goes in all of our blogs. We have highlights. After highlights comes an intro. After that comes this, right? So it's almost like a template, but across whether it's a blog, whether it's an ebook, whether it's anything, I want brand voice to go across all of those. When it goes horizontally across all of my form factors, I put it in the instructions.
Mhm.
Also in the instructions, you can say, refer to this file in your project knowledge. So that's another way you can use it, as it's like a table of contents for your GPT to use. There's a lot of room for creativity here. Every time you get stuck, ask it what to do. Tell it what you want and ask it what to do. James,
That's
did
helpful.
you want to
Thanks.
contribute to that?
Yeah, well, it was interesting. I know that a year ago, everybody was talking about hallucinations from these LLMs, and in dealing with chat for most of the last year, I guess they're up to 5.2 now. Um, I use the traffic light. I basically say, okay, chat. Green means high confidence in the material, the answers that you're giving my detailed prompt. Yellow means moderate confidence, and red means this is a hallucination and I have no idea. So I just tell it, anytime you're about to give me the answer in red, just regenerate it, because I'm only interested in greens and yellows. And the yellows even are pretty detailed, but they have facts about trends that are developing in the near future that might make it not a green. So he identifies it as a yellow for me. And I found that so freeing, so that I don't have to worry, like, is every other sentence that chat's giving me here a hallucination, and I don't know it, but it does. So I just ask it to give me those color cues, and I found it and then another color in the Holy Bible where Jesus talks. Anywhere he talks, give me that symbol. And I've just found it so much faster and reliable than before I was doing that.
I want everyone to pay attention to what he just said, because overlying what you just said is I use a creative approach and I've evolved it over time. And that's really the freedom that you have. Like, this is one big creativity experiment, one big lab for you. So be like James, explore, try different ways of doing it. I also have in my instructions, I don't need you to be my hype squad. I only want truth. Don't guess, don't predict. If you don't know it, tell me you don't know it. Like, I agree with you. You have to try to protect yourself against those hallucinations. Also, I have to address this M dash issue that's happening in the chat here, because this is important. So Cindy, it has not ruined it, I promise you. But what you can do, like in my rules, it says never use more than one M dash per paragraph unless it's setting off, an independent clause or phrase, and then never in consecutive paragraphs. So I refuse to have it be ruined, but I govern its usage. Troy,
Yeah,
did you want to share
Just
on that?
most people
just
most
a
people
little.
see it as a dead giveaway, so I try to avoid it, but I used to love it. It has a but dead now.
No, it's not. It's not. Long live the undead.
Just just a little joke that in James's case, it may be inspiration rather than hallucination.
Yes,
Possibly,
You can
possibly.
use you can use that. You please use that, James, with your audience. They might enjoy it.
I
You know
love it.
what I find most fascinating is that even though these are not truly trying to um, um, make our make us happy masters of these LLM slaves. I think they just want to please us by giving us what they think sometimes we need. And I told Chat, I don't need you to tell me whether how I'm going to feel about your answer. In fact, I would love for you to tell me, don't use this because you are mistaken in your assumption. And that's just a freeing thing to know that I'm a Chat, be as brutally honest as you have to be. Maybe all my questions there, it's not a good thing, if I were to implement these. That's what I need. Like Billy Joel said, honesty is such a lonely word because people want, even I think LLMs want to be, okay, what does he want to hear? I am not asking you because of what I want to hear. I'm asking you because I don't know. And that just has seemed to me so, when we're talking about the opposite of AI slop is excellence. Excellence. That was a word that was used 25 years ago. That was true then. I'm not sure. It's not a word that has lost all meaning today. But that was my conclusion.
Oh, I want to ask you a question about this. You sound extremely confident that you can trust the AI's assessment of its own hallucination. Do you feel very confident about that? Like
I will.
I'm
Sometimes
not
I'll
sure.
test it a little. By the way, I'm hoping you're able to understand me. I had a stroke about 18 months ago, and
Okay.
so a lot of my ambitious plans for these unique specialty Christian books are behind schedule about a year now.
Oh,
It's given me
that's awful.
plenty of
But I can
time to
understand you
sort of weigh in
design.
on AIs and all that. But and we're going to talk about what did Jesus mean 2,500 years ago? Well, nobody was there writing it down. So 2,000 years later, what did he mean is open to interpretation. My focus for these Christian books is the company's Holy Bible Wisdom, and our tagline is we make God's word practical for everyday living. Because when you go to church, you hear about heaven, you hear about hell, you hear about all these places, but you don't, like, I'm focused on whether I have enough money for groceries this week. That's practical. And so I'm approaching this from the Christian's practical side in a world that's gone, to use that word, chaos. I think it's applicable now. And so, I mean, people are using language to justify genocide around the world. So it's, language can be good or bad depending on how you use it or misuse it. But I just think, like you were saying, it's our job as creators, content creators, to set the bar as high as we possibly can so that if it meets our standards, it may meet the standards of our clients. And if it doesn't meet our personal standards, don't dumb it down for what you think AI means.
Yeah,
That was my soapbox. I'll climb off of it
I
now.
like it.
But
And
I
James, I
feel
can
so
understand you
strongly.
just fine. I want you to know you're completely understandable. Everyone can easily understand you. Dennis, did you have something
All
to say?
right. So we have about 15 minutes left. I would love for you, Brianna, to get into the live demo portion. If you want to do
Sure,
that. Okay.
sure.
Excellent. And
Yeah.
we'll see how much time we have after that.
All right. Let me get ready for that. Let's log in here. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go back to Zoom and share. This is fun, you guys. I'm having a great time. I don't get to geek out about this with people that much, so it's, it's nice. Okay. All right. Can you see Claude here?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
It's
So we're going to do the same thing with Claude, and it's just really that it has a different name. It's called projects, not GPTs. So you can see a few of my projects here. By the way, I just came here from the the home screen of Claude, right? If I had this open, there's a projects folder right there. And you'll see down here, it has an example project. So it has a little starter project for you that you can use. So you can use this, or can you see my screen? Okay, just making sure. Okay. So, or you can do new project. So let's say I use my example project here. I'm going to do the exact same thing, right? I'm going to be uploading files into the project knowledge. I'm going to add instructions, so on and so forth. So I'm going to name this, I'm called Bay Area Content Marketing Association project. And oops. And I'm trying to achieve a content marketing. Oh, create your project. Why is it doing that? All right, don't tell me what permissions denied. Why is that happening? Let's go back and modify. Here's some more projects. Okay, here's one that I had created for, I actually built a big content marketing application as an app. And very similarly to ChatGPT, I'm going to give it instructions. So in here, I've reminded it what I'm doing, and I've put in here the rules that I want it to follow. So for example, at a certain point, I had a very, I had like a free Claude account, or maybe it was just a very minimal Claude account. So I wanted it to give me multiple messages in one for me to conserve my messages, my tokens. And you can add to it anytime. And so, for example, I had actually pulled some instructions for you to give you an example. Where my instructions go. So you can always like paste in whatever you want. So this is one that I was building. This was a content studio. It mirrors my communication. It gives the vibe that I want. So I look at it as my digital twin as far as writing goes. And then you just save your instructions. Now in here is all of your project knowledge. Now, again, I was building an application here. I said I wasn't a developer, but I can build apps with AI, and so can you, but that's a story for a different day. So all you would do to add these project files is, upload from your computer. Hang on. Here's my, hold on a second. I had this already. There we go. Okay, so I will upload my writing style guide right in here. And this is one that I've created. It could be your client's style guide, whatever it is. I created a messaging document with messaging pillars, uploading it here. And that's it. You don't even have to click update with Claude. It's already there. It saves it as you go along. It also has a project memory, and that's something that only applies to you because you can share these with other people. So let's say, all right, using the writing style guide. Demonstrate your understanding of the voice by writing about the weather. Oops, sorry for the typo. So it's going to go in, it's looking for, see how it's found the writing style guide? So there you go. This is using my voice. Clever, not snacky. Inspirational, not fluffy. Like, that's my stuff. So it writes in my book, and that's how it goes. Anybody have questions about this?
Brianna, is what you're showing us, does it require the paid version of Claude?
I don't know the answer to that, actually.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
And I guess related to that,
it might.
It might.
Yeah.
That for the GPT you built, is that using your company's instance of OpenAI, or are you using a personal account?
I'm using a personal account. And
Oh,
we
okay.
have one at work. Yeah, but see, I also have little side businesses that I do. So I actually have I have my own business account that's like an outside of work business account. But at
Okay.
work, that we have our own enterprise Claude. And that's why I wanted to show people Claude as well as ChatGPT, because a lot of companies are standardizing on Claude and they want you to only use, they want you to work within their environment. So this is all platform agnostic, essentially.
Okay. So interesting. It's interesting that the MCA that you built is on your personal account, and I guess your employer is okay with your team using that, even though it's not inside the corporate umbrella?
No, no, perhaps I didn't express
No.
myself clearly. I have my
Oh,
own content studio that is on my
ah,
personal work stuff. At work, I
yeah.
have the Moveworks Content Accelerator.
Okay. And
So
that's
those
using
are,
the,
I
yeah.
have been, experimenting with different versions of this, and I was doing that before I came to Moveworks.
Okay.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Kathy, did
Kathy?
you have a question?
Yeah, I was wondering about when you create these spaces, like the projects in Claude or the GPTs in chat, are they able, you run all of your work through that space, and is it inside that space able to reference other chats inside the same space? Like I'm looking for a
Yes.
job right now, so I set up
Yeah.
my job search inside
Mhm.
a project, or
Yeah.
actually inside it wasn't a GPT, maybe it was in chat. But and it was supposed to be able to reference, but I found that it really did not work very well. This is back, a few months ago, so maybe it's gotten better.
Let me see
But
what it's can you see all of our chats? See, I feel like I don't need to know everything anymore. I just ask questions. Just ask. And if it's not, ask it how it might be able to do that. So
yeah.
there you go. So yeah, so it can carry. At the beginning, it didn't do that. It didn't save context, but now it does. That was a feature that didn't exist in the beginning.
hmm
Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
Jane, did you want to ask a question?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I know in getting some help for that first draft on some of these books, I'm looking at, obviously I know the power of Chat GPT, but I barely know Claude, and I know next to nothing about Perplexity. I'm wondering whether those last two would be able to help me with book content. I'm assuming I've got all the headlines and I've got the framework, but it's actually helping me to brainstorm content. Do you think what would be your hierarchy, Chat, Claude, or Perplexity for that application?
I mean, I honestly wouldn't. I think the right tool for the job. So I told you I have started building software with AI. I do that with Claude. I found that ChatGPT just isn't as good at it. But that's for me. I mean, I would experiment and see which of the outputs are working best for you.
I actually asked Chat. I wanted to make sure I could trust his answer, and he basically said, "Use me for this, use Claude for that, and use Perplexity for this other thing." But I was just
Mhm.
wondering if, as somebody who's working in all of this technology, if you had uh, more views on long form
Yeah.
content.
I mean, I use Gemini, I use ChatGPT, I use Claude. And it a lot of times depends on context. If I'm searching on Google, I use Gemini. So it's right there. So
Any any
Jane,
any opinion on Perplexity?
I've actually never used it.
Oh,
Yeah. Sorry. Jane, did you want to say something?
Oh, I would just share my experience with Kathy on the memory. So I kind of started the new account for ChatGPT and Claude, but I think you would have to go to setting to turn on the memory. So then
Yeah, you're
different
right.
chats within it.
Mhm.
But honestly, even then, it doesn't always reference the previous chat very well, you unless it's within the same chat.
Mhm.
So other than that, you will always need to remind the chat you're using, hey, this is how specifically I want it or whatnot.
So I have a tip for that, by the way. So
Yeah.
like if you run out of space like we used to in Claude. So first of all, I keep my chats in ChatGPT, I keep them separate. So, you know, like I have a chat that's about training my loud puppy. So I go into that chat every time to ask questions about Ziggy because I don't want to give all the context again. That's one way to handle it. The other thing I've done when I really run out of space or memory is I say, I need to start a new chat, write a summary of everything, all the most important parts of this conversation so I can copy and paste it into our new chat. That's another thing I do.
Yeah, I pretty much follow those same protocols. Yeah.
Just experiment. Was there anything else, Jane? I see you still have your hand up. So. She's good. Okay.
Sorry.
Anybody else have something to say? You're fine. Were you done? You can.
We have time for one more question, if anyone has one.
Time for one more. Okay, you want to see?
All right, if not.
Want to see my pet psychic?
Well,
I know you do.
Brianna, thanks so much for joining us. A lot of great things to learn and think about. And to everyone else, thanks for joining as well. We have more meetups planned this summer, so stay tuned on our meetup page. Thanks, everyone.
I just put my email address in the chat, okay. So feel free. That's my personal email address. Feel free to email me anytime. And like I said, I love to nerd out about this stuff. So thank you so much for coming. And thank you for welcoming me so warmly. I appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
Have a great rest of your day.
Bye-bye.